Quijimo! So when they first started talking about doing a Detective Pikachu movie, it was one of those things where you're like, that's not gonna happen. I mean, like, all the time, movie execs and all that, they're always like throwing out these ideas, oh, we're thinking about making this, but then like, most of them just don't end up happening. You hear about it the one time, they put it in a drawer, and you never hear about it again. And so this was definitely one of those times. Why would they make a Detective Pikachu movie that's just too weird? And it just kept feeling that way, and then they were like, now Ryan Reynolds is in it, now they're shooting it, and it's like, this is still not real, right? And now it is a thing that is happening. It somehow was one of those things that was never gonna happen, but then just kind of did, and now it just kind of is. And now here we are, and I'm talking about my impressions of the first trailer for the Detective Pikachu movie starring Ryan Reynolds. So impressions. So like the very, very first impressions are kind of tied to my initial thoughts even before I saw the trailer as the whole thing. It's like, this is the first live action Pokemon movie. This is the first time that we've seen something like this that I have dreamed about since I was a kid. Since like 1997 is how long I've been not as active in my recent years, but at least as a kid, I really dreamed about this kind of thing a lot. And you're watching the trailer and you're like, this is for real. This is the first live action Pokemon movie, and it makes you wonder why they wanted to use that opportunity, dare I say, waste on this. On this idea. Like, if they were gonna do it, if they were gonna put forth all of the effort, why wouldn't they just make a regular Pokemon movie? My guess at the moment is just budget. Because, I mean, obviously a real Pokemon movie, a lot bigger sets, a lot more Pokemon. This is kind of a little more constrained. It's it's dolled up a little bit with some CG, but it's a real world city. It's one of our cities, smaller locations. You're in a bar and there's a Pokemon instead of like a big epic mountain and a Pokemon. So that's at least my guess. But that's just the very, very first going in. It's just like, why would they do this? The second impression that you get pretty early on in the trailer is like, this is a lot darker and more adult than I expected. And it's not like super duper gritty. No one's like killing each other or anything, but it's just more so than I expected. The visual tone of the movie is quite dark, just like an actual detective movie. And then like there's even some slightly more adult jokes. Again, nothing crazy, but they make a few references. They're like, that's not a kid movie thing. That's not really exactly a kid movie joke. They're playing a little loose here. And that does raise the question who this is supposed to appeal to. And the answer probably is just everybody. They're probably hoping that they get the kids in by just the simple fact that it is Pokemon, but then they keep the adults' attentions by the fact that it's, I don't know, a little more adult, a little darker, some more adult jokes. And then really when you think about it, most people who liked Pokemon as a kid, I mean, I'm 30 now, like a lot of us are just 30-year-olds. So, in a sense, if it's aimed at us, this is kind of like the little middle ground. That's why it's Pokemon, but it's also a little more adult. So I don't know. Yeah, that's my best guess. They're just trying to make it for everyone. Whether or not that works, whether or not kids do want to see it or it looks too weird, we'll have to wait and see. But now we come to what I really thought about the trailer, and I am annoyed by how much I want to see this movie. It looks so much better than I expected going in. I was really not expecting much, and by the end I was just like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna see that. That kind of looks fun. Like, it just, at least just like on the surface, it does not give off the vibe of a bad movie. I can usually tell how much I'm gonna like a movie by watching the trailer. I know you can't judge a book by its cover or whatever. I usually can. Like 95% of the time, I can watch a trailer and I can just be like, yeah, it's gonna be like this. I'm gonna like it this much. I'm usually right. Sometimes I'll be pleasantly surprised and I'll like it more than I thought I would by the trailer. It's usually not the other way around. If I look at a trailer, especially for some sort of CG kids movie, and it looks bad, it's gonna be bad. I'm gonna hate it because it gives you like just a feel for the quality and the kind of humor that it employs. And this gives off a good impression. Like, we're seeing some competent filmmaking here. We're not seeing any just dumb pandering. We're not seeing any dumb humor. Like the main guy, the main actor, like he seems like a fine actor. Like they got someone who could actually do this. They don't play it like it's a dumb kids movie. And like the humor is surprisingly good. Like not great, I'm not gonna be rolling on the floor laughing, but like there's a big difference between a movie that someone wrote that they wanted to be kind of funny and an Illumination movie. You know what I mean? Like, just there's there's just a certain level of like how far they want to pander and how lazy they want to be with the humor. You know what I mean? Like you see the types of jokes in a trailer and you go, yeah, this is garbage. it's just the worst. This movie doesn't do that. There's some good gags in there. The Mr. Mime, they're interrogating a Mr. Mime, and he's like insulting him and stuff, and there's all these little gags about how he's a mime. He tries to attack him. That's funny. Like it's totally dumb, but that's funny. That seems like the sort of thing that only could have been written by someone who knows Pokemon, at least to some degree. You know what I mean? They had to know Mr. Mime and be like, oh man, I could fit Mr. Mime into a scene where this happened. Like that's, I don't know. That impressed me. That impressed me right there. And like, since it doesn't seem bad, it makes me excited just to see a Pokemon movie in some way. Like, even if it's not what I expected in the slightest, there's still that part of me that's like, but it's still a live action Pokemon movie. It's still like Pokemon in the real world. And I'm still excited for it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, here's the thing. So many video game movies, or just adaptations in general, they just take the basic concept of a thing and they cram it into whatever, the real world, the actual literal real world. Or like, look at the Monster Hunter movie. They're not okay with just doing a Monster Hunter movie in a Monster Hunter universe. No, it's gotta be like, oh, some US Marine Corps guys from the real world got sucked into a vortex and then they went to Monster Hunter World. Like they have to staple it together. Or like DBZ movies where it's like, yeah, some of the characters have the same names and there's some basic concepts, but it's just like still totally different. It's still basically a different universe. But here, like, this is set in a Pokemon universe. Obviously, there's a lot more influence from our own world, again, probably budgetary reasons, again, because, you know, you're not going to make all these big fantasy cityscapes and stuff. Like, yeah, they kind of had to model it after our world, because it would just be a little too ambitious to make a completely 100% new world. But this is a Pokemon universe. This is not just a place where there are Pokemon. Like, no, there are Pokemon trainers. Like, you look at the main character is a failed Pokemon trainer, and that's like a part of his character. And you're looking at like the posters on the wall, and it's looking at like all these like legendary Pokemon fights, and like it's a real thing. This is a world where there are Pokemon and people are trainers and they battle them, and it's just like the fact that they even got that, it's impressive. And that's very unlike a video game movie, which usually just takes these broad concepts and just kind of cobbles them together into whatever stupid, weird way they can. And seeing that there is some genuineness to that makes me more excited for what we do get. And just like, this is a live-action Pokemon movie. I'm seeing like Bulbasaur's walking through the water. Like, that's just super cool. Charizard's like, Charizard gonna eat the Pikachu. I'm just like, whoa, I'm watching a Charizard. I'm watching a CG Charizard about to eat. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just like, it's just fun. It's cool. I thought Jigglypuff, like sitting there, like some sort of angry Jigglypuff on a bar table, holding a microphone, like those little snippets make me like, whoa, I want to see what else they do. I want to see what other fun little gags and stuff they come up with for just other Pokemon that they put into this world. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a good amount of potential there. I want to see what else they came up with. And it's just like, I mean, like I said, most game movies, they're so different that they end up being kind of worthless. Or, you know, adaptation movies in general. They change so much at their core that it's just like, this doesn't appeal to anyone. It's not going to appeal to new people because it's just like, why? And then it's not going to appeal to the actual fans because you just changed it all too much. But like, this doesn't, like, it's definitely different. You know, a talking Pikachu voiced by Ryan Reynolds. Like, yeah, there are definitely different elements to this. It is a weird crime drama instead of a real Pokemon movie, but it doesn't seem so different that it is worthless anymore. It just seems so different that it's weird. It just seems different. And there is a part of me that can kind of appreciate that. Like, so many movie studios, everything they do is so robotic and mechanical and cynical that every single movie they make has to be so perfectly constructed to make the most amount of money possible. You know what I mean? Like, they just, like, look at someone like Disney. Like, they've got this, like, this formula of making money on their movies, of following all the right trends and hitting all the right notes with their audiences to reach as many people as they can. This is like, what is this? If everybody was working purely on logic, on like what they should be doing, this movie would not exist. But it's like the fact that it does, like it's kind of fun. It's interesting that they would make a movie that like I would never make, none of the Pokemon fans I know of would ever make, but not in the way that it's because it looks so bad, it's just because it's so different. And like on a creative level, I can appreciate that, even like in its own way, even if I am still disappointed that it's not a full Pokemon movie or whatever, like I can appreciate that. This is not something that by any rights should exist, but it does. So who knows what kind of unique stuff we're gonna get out of it because it does. I'm trying to keep my expectations in check. I'm, you never know until you see it, but like the way I'm looking at it, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be super duper great. It's not gonna be my favorite movie. My guess is that it's probably gonna be just as entertaining as it looks in the trailer. You know what I mean? Like just the quality of what you're seeing, that's kind of what I expect going in. It'll be like a solid good time. Like that's what I'm hoping for. It's just like a good time, a good fun time, some good gags, some fun visuals, and really, even just like a pretty good solid time, that would make this like the best video game movie ever by a wide margin. That would be a rousing success. And really, like when I'm looking at this, the whole like it is a Pokemon movie, but it's also kind of not. It's also kind of probably lower budget than a real one would be. Maybe they're testing the waters for a true Pokemon movie. Maybe they're seeing how this resonates with audiences. And maybe if this movie does well and makes a lot of money, then they're like, okay, a real life Pokemon movie, like maybe that could really work. So there's definitely a part of me that is hoping that that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at them kind of dipping their toe in the water with a slightly simpler, kind of, I don't want to say more safe, because it's definitely not all the way safe, because it's so weird, but I don't know, something a little simpler. Something kind of snarky, something a little bit more for the parents, and then maybe if that works, they'll be like, all right, let's do this. Let's go on full live action Pokemon movie with all the epic stuff and all the big crazy everything. I mean, this does have some big crazy outside stuff. It was some weird thing with the big mountain or whatever and Greninjas everywhere. And I don't know. I can't say for sure. We will just have to wait and see. And I'm seeing this movie. Like, I'm excited to see this movie now. I'm not like beside myself excited, but I watched it. Yeah, I want to see that. Watch it again? Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely want to see that. But why don't you let me know what you think about this down in the comments. I'm seeing a lot of different opinions. A lot of people are less keen on the slightly realistic Pokemon designs. I don't know, I'm kind of okay with them. I feel like that fits a little better when you tie it in with the real world. If it's too cartoony, then it stands out too much. So this is kind of a nice little middle ground. I don't know, I don't have too much of an opinion on it. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, and yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow when we all wake up and realize that it was all a dream. And of course, this movie didn't get made because what on earth?